Hello and welcome to the Red Bra Project recap. It is 2021. Happy New Year,
Thank
everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yay. I know it's been a long time waiting, and a lot of us are just excited to turn the page on the calendar. So here we are. And Shauna looks like she's coming to us from snowy New England. She's sporting this snow bunny look.
Right? I'm always sitting in my boring white wall. I was like, today I'm going to be cold and outside. Kind of.
I
Thank
like
you,
it.
Zoom, for allowing backgrounds.
That's right. That's right. Well, for some of us, I can't do one on my computer, so we're stuck with this
So
then.
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, and we're both pulling the vest look off,
Yeah, we're doing
kind
the
of.
vest, because our bodies are cold, but our arms super hot.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. So, with that said, it's one of our favorite times to get together. And what we do is we go over the last several guest highlights that we've had. Today we have 9 since our last Red Bra recap. And so what we'll do is we give our listeners little sound bites of each woman's story and their journey and a little bit about what we talked about. That way you can listen and decide to go back and watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or read if you're a reader. You can catch the blog, but the full episode always has little gems hidden in it. So we're going to give you the recap, and then you can go and choose the stories that fit you best right now.
Oh, yes, this is my favorite episode. I mean, obviously, I love talking to our guests, but I just love recapping them too because it makes me go back and remember things they've said. And so excited to give everyone a little snippet. And we're going to start with episode 63. And I have a bunch of notes this time because 9, that's a lot to go through. And I want to make sure we give all of our wonderful women the credit they deserve. But episode 63, Shabna Samuel. Just what a gift she is. And that I start at 63. If you need to start somewhere, start there and then listen to all the rest of these because she is just a woman who found her worth very late in life, but had worth, obviously, we saw the whole time. She's coming to us with her memoir that is just this beautiful tale of her story of how she grew up. Her parents got divorced and she was raised by her grandparents. She's an immigrant over here. God, there's just so many details to her story. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin, but essentially she's been writing her whole life. She says mostly it started in her head. And then when she really started to want to get it on paper, she utilized Facebook notes and was really just keeping all the details of this in the most succinct way she could. And then the most beautiful part of her story, and there's just so many layers, but her grandfather every day of her life was writing a letter to her. And I think we both were like tearing up as she was telling us this in the story. So she has this beautiful collection of things about her life that maybe he wasn't able to explain to her at the time, that she's now able to go back and look on. And again, there's so much to Shabna that I can't give it credit in a short recap, but her red bra moment was beautiful. It was talking about going to her son and saying, I'm going to share a lot, and some of that's going to involve you. It might involve your dad. And, are you okay with that? And he was like, Mom, it's your story. Tell it. And I just think she needed that. And what a beautiful encouragement, speaks to the way he was raised. And again, I mean, she's just so great. She was recommended by a previous guest, Jen Myers, who's feeding us great people. We love you, Jen. But if you want to learn more, you should definitely check out her episode and follow her at Instagram. It's Shabna_PWR. We'll have that linked below so that you spell it all out correctly. But she's doing writers retreats. She's pick up her memoir. There's not enough time to recap what that beautiful episode was and the beautiful life of Shabna. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Renee.
I think you covered it. She has such a beautiful story of just grit and resilience. And you mentioned finding herself later on in life. And I think that it gives a lot of hope to women and men who feel like you're still kind of wailing out there. You're trying to find yourself, find your purpose. And she shares that everything that happened essentially set her up for where she is today. And it's always easier to look back and connect the dots and find gratitude for them. Sometimes it's tough when you're going through it, but just to hear her share that and talk about her circle now is really powerful, and it gives a lot of hope to people. So awesome episode to start with. So
I'll toss it to you for 64.
Yeah, number 64, we sat down with Margie Crow. And Margie is somebody that once you guys catch up on the episode, if this sounds like a story you want to listen into, you should. She was someone else we could have spent. I mean, we said we have to have a part 2 with a lot of our guests, almost all of our guests, practically everybody. And she is definitely one of those women. So she has such a diverse past. She was in the military for 20 years. She worked at the Pentagon. She retired from the military when her daughter was diagnosed with autism. And we'll get into that here in a second. But she is just a passion. She has a passion for servant leadership. And she leads through not just her talk, but her walk. And she does it every single day. And I mean, this woman is a powerhouse. And I don't mean that in an intimidating way at all. I mean that in the way that she is just touching so many people's lives and helping them to get to other places in their life, to climb the ladder. And that's actually one of the sayings that she shared with us, and we just embraced it. We loved it, about handing the ladder down. And so when she sees somebody struggling and she's like, oh, I identify with that, I've been there, I can help you, here's a piece of advice if you want it, or should you want a little bit of wisdom that I gained. It's called handing the ladder down. And it's such a cool way to think about, because as you and I talk about, we like to create that positive ripple effect. And that's what Margie's doing out there. And so after her daughter was diagnosed with autism, she knew that she had to be a huge part of her life. She wanted to understand the ins, the outs, and everything that her daughter was going through in her own world. And that would take a lot of shifts in her personal world and her own attention and direction. And that was actually the first step she took towards education and special education. She's currently an assistant college professor right now, who creates courses in personal development, and she produces a lot of advocacy work, diversity and inclusion. And we even went down and talked about COVID and just the impact it has taken on her students and the professors and the teachers and the parents, and what the support looks like there. And so, I mean, when I say we kind of pulled from everywhere and talked to Margie about so many different parts of her life and her story, we truly did. And it's just incredible, because it's another story of just hope and resilience and not giving up. I mean, she shares genuinely and authentically about how many times she could have thrown in the towel and just said, F it, I'm done. But no, she's made of the stuff that you've got to dig deep and find. And you're like, I just want some of that, Margie. And it's funny, we had such a good laugh, because her mom shares a story with her that Margie shared with us too. But when she came out of the womb, she's like, Margie was already saying, you're not my boss. And that is the total vibe you get from her. She's just fierce determination, and she is a woman to call your friend. So you've got to listen in to episode number 64 with Margie Crow. She is on Instagram at MargieMK, but she spends a lot of her time over on LinkedIn, and she gives fantastic resources. She has lives quite often where she's having conversations, holding conversations with a lot of other entrepreneurs and people, women and men. And she's just an amazing woman. So go check her out.
Yes, I loved that episode. Just, it was so relevant too for the times and the diversity work she's doing. And
yeah.
All right, on to episode 65, Hallie Avolio. Oh my goodness. If you need a pep in your step, get over and check her out. Her episode, all of her motivational minutes, which I'm going to get to. Hallie is a phenomenal woman, and just really, I think, will resonate with so many people for where she is in her life, where she's been, and how she got here, and then she didn't just snap her fingers and she's suddenly successful. She talks about very early in our conversation that she was on what she likes to call self-destruction or self-sabotage lane, say that 3 times fast. And that, she was really just kind of spiraling out after becoming a stay-at-home mom, wasn't what she wanted, but didn't really know where she wanted to take this. And so rather than deal with it, what she did was just kind of act out, spin out, and not face the problem head on. And so that kind of, until she had this, what we kind of described for her was this out of body experience where she kind of saw herself, she saw what she was doing to her family, to her husband and her relationship. And it was this eye-opening moment where she was like, oh, I'm not dealing with what's in front of me. And so that's where Sassy Healthy Fit, her company, was born from. She is sassy AF. I'll let her drop all the words on our episode, but she is just, she started Sassy Healthy Fit so that she could connect with women that were also living on self-sabotage lane, so that she could help them really realize, that they weren't being their authentic selves until they got there. They're kind of living in this false reality. They're wearing a mask, they're smiling, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, is what she said, but not facing, the day-to-day stuff. And she didn't plan for Sassy Healthy Fit to be a company, but it really started to develop and to just become, something that she saw other women needed. And it grew from there. She's doing these motivational minutes. She was talking to us about, the different ways that you need to form a routine. She takes 2 hours every morning for her routine. And she was like, I get that that's not realistic for everybody, but when you have to start forming a routine, take 10 minutes every morning and do that. She says mornings are great, but focus on it. And if your routine changes every day, that's fine, but keep the time set aside that you're going to do something for you. And so she just has so much to offer. Her energy is infectious and contagious. And I think that, we laughed, we had so much fun with her, but there's also just so much heart and grit in her story too, that I think, given what people are going through right now, and I think we have to show up, and it's been a really tough year. Her story, I think, it just resonates with so many people, I think. But you can follow her at Sassy Healthy Fit on Instagram. She's also over on LinkedIn doing lots of lives and videos there too. I want to make sure I hit on everything. Yeah, live your authentic life is really what she's going after. And her red bra moment, again, it connects back to, being authentic. She didn't want to get up on stage. And so she watched all these videos of all these people and made all these notes. And then she finally saw one video that was like, no, I just need to speak my truth. And then she did. And, the rest is history with her company and how great she's doing. So check it out. Episode 65, Hallie Avolio. You will not regret it.
Yeah. And just to kind of double back on something you said, Shawna, I mean, with everything that's happened this year, more so than ever, Hallie's discovery was that she really helps in-demand women learn how to take care of themselves without feeling guilty. And so that's where it comes from too, because everybody's going, juggling so much, doing so much. And for Hallie, she was doing the same thing. And then she realized, I've got to pour into my cup. And she was like, I want to share this with other women, in-demand women, because I mean, you are being a taxi, you are now being a teacher, you are now being a event coordinator, you are working your full-time job, you're a housekeeper, you're the chef, like everything. And so to pour into your soul without guilt is the key there. And Hallie does such a great job about expressing that and giving you ideas. And right now she's actually she's partnering with another coach for a 4-week program about how to live better and feel better. And it's not diets, it's not fads, it's just a bunch of tools that you're going to learn and that you can use throughout any time of the year. And so it's open right now. So go to her page, check it out. She has all the info there. So good time of year. So that will take us, actually speaking about the beginning of the year, to episode number 66, which is Laura Staley. So I sat down with Laura and had it was such a heartfelt conversation. I mean, all of our conversations are, but man, this is just, she poured her part of her story out, and she is a nature lover, and she now lives over in the gorgeous area, Blue Ridge Mountains. And so of course, that's where she heals and thrives. And she has a creative energy. She's a writer. She's an author. She has published 3 books, which we'll get to here in a moment. She's the founder of Cherish Your World. And so what she does is basically she helps people to focus and thrive by guiding them to holistic transitions of their space, heart, and life. So basically, love your space, love your life. She really teaches people about how the power of things in your space and what that means. And if you don't love it, then really get rid of it, because every time you walk past it, every time you see it hanging, if it doesn't, it sounds so cheesy, but if it doesn't bring you joy, it is creating a negative energy. It is creating not a joyful space. And so she really, she's practices, and she has been certified with feng shui. How?
Feng shui.
Thank you, feng shui. So yes, so she has
Got
done.
you.
Thank you. So she has done all of her education and certifications and everything like that. So in 2004, she actually, the way she discovered it is that her own finished basement, she had a lot of work to do because a flood basically took everything from it, and it was horrible. And it was at a time of life when everything else, of course, is going on. And Shawna, you can probably relate to some of this happening with your roof that you know was in demolition, and you had to move out of your house over a year ago into a hotel. I mean, crazy. And so while she was going through her own healing process with this, she discovered the power of letting go of the hand-me-down things. And she thought about those items and how she got them and why she got them. And she didn't love them. She was just hanging on to them. And so she slowly started to clear some of this stuff out of her life. And that transition started to take place. And Cherish Your World was born. And it is a thriving company right now for Laura. She really helps people to learn about not just shedding your stuff, but through that process, you're shedding your limiting beliefs. And we all know what that means for the most part. So it's those damn beliefs that tell you you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're never going to be get there, you suck, like all of that shit. She helps you to let go of. And it's crazy, but part of it is through the stuff you put in your space. And it's so cool. So it was a really great episode to lean into, especially at the beginning of the year. I don't know. I kind of went through all of my stuff and purged. I was crazy on day number one. But then I did too much because I'm like, I think I gave something away, and I probably should have kept that. But one of Laura's books is Live Inspired. And this is a beautiful book about her own personal journey. And through all of her personal shares, she talks about what she learned from it and how we can gain wisdom from what she's been through and how it relates to your own life. I know I read it and I could relate to so many things. So check out Laura's episode number 66. She's not on Instagram, but she's another very active woman over on LinkedIn, and she puts out tons of wonderful resources. Her website, cherishyourworld.com, has awesome resources to start with, and you've got to take a listen to some of her client love stories, like her client testimonials. She has some before and after pictures up there, and oh my gosh, they are beautiful transitions. And then it talks about the emotional side too. So awesome episode. So number 66, Laura Staley. So back to you, girl.
Thank you. Yeah, I was bummed that I missed her, but picked up so much from the episode because I mean, I think we all can definitely benefit from what she's teaching. Episode 67, Natalie Fly Girl Kelly. Talk about, somehow we've got a weird connection with Red Bra and aviation, women in aviation, but
because they're badass.
I know, right? And it's such a small world. They all talk about that too, that this women in aviation is a very tight-knit group of women. But Natalie Kelly, I mean, she really, she touched me with her story because she found aviation late in life, but how she got to it, I mean, it's kind of been something that's been a passion of hers her whole time. Really was blessed, as she kind of said, to be a stay-at-home mom, to be with her kids, but some family stuff happened and made her really start to evaluate if this was what was making her happy. Because as she said, when you're a stay-at-home mom, if somebody's not successful in something, you kind of take on that blame. You kind of feel like you're failing at it. And not to say she was, and she wasn't either, but that was the emotion she was feeling. And so she went and she dug out, she knew she had a bucket list from 1999.
Oh, so cool.
That was typed up, she said. So picture that, if you were our age and you could think of what you would have been typing on in 1999. Maybe a dot matrix printer or maybe a typewriter. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it was typed from 1999. And in 2016, she dug this out. And on there was that she wanted to, be a pilot or fly and do aviation. And, this is all a passion that came from her uncle. That was somebody that as a child she flew with. And he, I mean, I feel like I just want to sit down with her uncle and get that story too, who just recently retired in his 80s from flying. But yeah, I mean, she takes this on, she sees the bucket list, she's like, I'm going to do it. And she recognizes she was in a really fortunate place that she could take as many classes as she needed. She could pay for it. And so she was able to do this, and with some intimidation too. She said she wasn't always the most confident person, and she's walking in her early 40s to start this new career path. And so, you know, the beautiful thing that she's doing now that she is a pilot, has her license, is that she's giving back to other women so that they can also do this. And that's where Fly Girl was developed. And she's providing scholarships for other women to be able to have this opportunity. I believe she gave out 5,000 in the first year. She's partnering with her aviation school to do this as well. It's just, you know, she doesn't want there to be limitations for people if there is a passion. And I believe, you know, that's really what she said. It's never too late to follow your dreams. And that's what she wants people to get, and to be able to, if aviation is their path, she wants to be able to have a role in that and help support that. Sales from her Fly Girl materials also help support those scholarships. And so, you know, she just a real gem. Listening to that Tennessee accent too, you can't, you know, you're drawn into her story and everything. You can follow her over at Fly Girl Kelly, and that's Kelly, Kelley. Or you can go to her website, which is flygirlllc.com. And so I unfortunately wasn't able to sit down with that. But I mean, again, I take so much from these, even when I listen back, because our guests are just great people and great humans and offer so much. So check it out. Renee, you met with her. I don't know if you want to add any little tidbits there.
Oh, she was amazing. It's so worth watching. And like you said, the aviation community is just so supportive. So if anybody out there is thinking about going into that community, she's definitely a woman that you want to connect with. And she's just so inspiring. And her swag, her merchandise at her store is so cute. So go check it out. Which takes us to episode number 68 with the incredible Mitra Rowe. So Mitra is a Middle Eastern woman who has always like pushed the boundaries. So she's always defied societal norms and within her culture. So you can imagine some of those societal expectations, such as marrying young, having children, having to look and act a certain way. She overcame that societal stereotype by choosing not to do that, by choosing what to do, what was in her heart. She just knew that that wasn't the life for her. And she also kind of came up against the fact that you have to look a certain way, and that if you're not a male, you're never going to be near as successful as any male out there. And even despite all of that stuff, she just put it to the side of her, and she kept, I'll use the word plowing, but she kept moving forward, and she does till this day. And her story just has so many cool pieces of experience that has turned into wisdom that we could all learn from. And you really have to listen into our episode, because it is such an intimate conversation that she shared so much with us, just kind of because we just went where the conversation flowed. And it was such a touching story and conversation. One of the things that she truly believes in, and she gives plenty of examples about how she has proved this, not just for herself, but how when you listen to it, it makes you think, oh, if Mitra did that, I can too, whatever you're going through. So she feels anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And basically, she just shares lesson after lesson that shows how she got over those obstacles and challenges, and how she moved out of her country, and how she met her husband, and her work. So she works in diversity, inclusion, and human resources for years. And she currently, this past year, she's a co-producer of a platform called hashtag Space to Talk. So Space to Talk it's just what it sounds like. It is literally a space to talk. And their main core focus is equity, diversity, inclusion. And this isn't a space for people to feel comfortable, to feel safe in, and they help facilitate those conversations. And it's just real life, authentic conversations. And if there's anything that 2020 has taught us this year, is to have more kindness and to be more open and to listen. And her co-producer have created this incredible space. So Mitra is not on Instagram, but Space to Talk is. So you can follow at Space to Talk. You can also go over to her LinkedIn, which all of these women are so active over there. So if you're looking for resources, if you're looking to join Space to Talk, find Mitra Rowe, METRAROWE, over at LinkedIn, and then Space to Talk as well, and join her community. It is so powerful. and make sure you listen to her story. I mean, if you are at a point in your life right now where you are just like, I can't do it, I cannot find the courage or the strength to rise up and push through. I have this against me. This is working against me. It's just not fair. This is the hand I've been dealt. If you're in that space, listen to Mitra's story because she's going to remind you that you can do it. So that's Mitra for you. She was awesome.
And what a perfect time for us to remind our viewers of that, the recent events at the Capitol. I know a lot of people are feeling a lot of emotions based on that versus Black Lives Matter. And so having that space is really great. And so I hope a lot of people will go check that out. I feel like a rookie over here, and I'm going to acknowledge that I'm the one with the annoying sounds. It's off now. It's off. Just, I don't know if you could hear that, but I could. So it's like my first day podcasting. What the heck,
I gotcha.
Let's move on to episode 69 with Lena Dalter. Oh my goodness. I connect with Lena on so many levels, on the adult female level, but also her story that takes place as a 12-year-old girl, as somebody that's raising an almost 12-year-old, which is crazy to me even say that out loud. She's 11 and 12 in a couple months, but Lena just,
I Kendall.
I know, right?
Gotta give her a little shout out.
Lena is doing work that I didn't even know existed. And then just so grateful to have heard her story and now be introduced to this. And really, it's talking about aligning your menstrual cycle. And so this really starts from a place of her being a confident kid. And you, Renee, and her talked about just how carefree kids are and just how you don't get caught up in the minute details of what do people think of me? Am I pretty enough? Am I this? And it was around the age of 12 that she heard a friend say to her, come on, thunder thighs, or use the term thunder thighs, and what that did to her, to a confident person who never thought about that. And then that comment resonated with her and really took a toll on her self-confidence, several layers of, really focusing on, was she good enough, kind of acting out that, not acting out, but like trying to fit a part, like, will this guy like me if I look like this or if I do that? And so really just trying to be on that path of self-discovery. And then started taking yoga. It was really the point that kind of changed it for her at all. But in yoga, she was also working with a relationship coach at that point, who she said something along the lines of, I'm on my period. And they were like, well, you can't use that as an excuse. And she was like, well, am I using it as an excuse? And really focusing on what those words meant and what stemmed from that, and why was she saying that, and what could she take from it? And, really what was built out of it then is this beauty in learning to follow your flow and follow not let that destroy you in the time leading up to it, but how to move through it and be the person you are through all of these steps. And so I don't want to give too much away, because I feel like the way that she portrays it and the way that she tells the story is just, well, there's this energy behind her too. I feel like this woman is happy all the time. And maybe that's because she's living in her flow, but she is just, there were just so many good things she added. A lot of this started, she read Code Red by Lisa Lister, was a book that she recommended. And, just focusing on not getting stuck in that, ruining your perception during that time and living in that moment. I also felt like her red bra moment is one that a lot of people can resonate with. She talked about, the end of a relationship and, working through that and those emotions. And again, it's having that self-awareness and being able to keep yourself in check and be like, I am going to be okay, and feel your feelings, but how do you feel them and still, perform and be okay in the world?
Yeah. I mean, it was an incredible conversation, and just to learn about harnessing the power of your menstrual cycle. Like, it's so much more than just a 28-day period on the calendar. And once you start to learn about that through the work that she does, it is so mind blowing about how much it connects. And when you think about it, you're like, of course it does. But literally, that's what she does. She teaches women the power of that and how to harness it yourself. And literally, your life is better, you sleep better, your exercise is better, like everything is better. So exactly what you said, it seems like she's happy all the time. Well, she knows when to say, okay, nope, I can't do this, because actually we were going to schedule a certain date. She's like, I could do it, but I'm not going to be in my prime. And I'm like, oh, nope, I respect that. Absolutely. But just to have the knowledge of when your prime time or dates of the month is, oh my God, that's so powerful, right?
Absolutely. And I should have said you can follow her at Lena, Lena Dolter over on Instagram. Check her out. I just, so many great stories, starting in sales and where she is now. I think you'll take a lot from her.
I agree. I agree. So, episode number 70, we got to sit down with Laura Bosman, and we had such a great conversation with her. She's an author, a spiritual nomad. She's from the awesome state of New Jersey, but she even says herself, she's not like the fist pumping Jersey girl. She is just the badass. I'll tell you how it is, Jersey girl. She traveled for years. I want to say close to 10 years. She was a travel blogger, had a very successful travel blog back in 2008 when blogging just started, and she had tons of followers. She talks about her transition and switching the name and kind of what happened to her community, and then how she pivoted around that. And for Laura, she shares so much of her love and her experiences through travel, but she keeps it real, because especially when you're traveling on your own, it's not always glorious. It's not always sunning yourself in the middle of a beautiful beach and beautiful crystal blue water. There's a lot of tears that happen in between there, especially doing it on your own and being a woman and having to confront language barriers and not being able to read certain things and signs, and different countries. And so there's that whole element of growth that she really grew from. So she talks a little bit about that, and COVID, of course, gave her a different plan. So she was able to focus on her other passion and love, which is writing. And she just published her second book. And Laura talks a little bit about her own personal journey with anxiety and panic attacks. And I love that she says she doesn't let labels define her, and she will never use a label to define what she has in those terms, because a lot of people may have different opinions about labels, but this is definitely one that I align with. And once you give somebody a certain label, then you start to think that. And it's just, I can go down a whole nother rabbit hole with that, but I'll just leave it at that. And so the way that she doesn't use a label, and she recognizes that with herself, but she also wanted to provide a book for teens dealing with anxiety. And so she started doing her research, and what she found was all of the books out there for teens were so uber clinical, and they were a little bit scary in the sense that they described anxiety as a monster living inside of you. And she's like, no, that's not it at all. You are not anxiety. You do not have a monster inside of you. And so she could not find a relatable book. So she wrote one. And I think that is so awesome, because she got to write from a place of wanting to help so many other teens and adults can read and discover coping methods and skills from this book as well. But then she also made it relatable and just something that you're not a monster. You don't have a monster living inside of you, and it's okay. Anxiety is okay. And so it's called Penny Panic right now. And the link is on her page. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on her website. She's sending out autographed copies, and it is so awesome. If you know a teen or an adult struggling with anxiety and you're looking for coping skills, but in a relatable story, she nails it. She also talks a little bit about her time with Gary Vee. So at the beginning of the year 2020 in April, she got on Tea with Gary Vee, and she was actually talking about her own hang up with videos. She didn't care to be on video. She didn't think she was good. And through the amazing Gary Vee as he is, he supported her and was like, no, girl, you're doing it. You're killing it on video right now. And so she made a commitment to stick to video, even though it was scary and she didn't want to do it. And she didn't, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but she did it. And her community grew. And so that link is also on her Instagram page, which is such a cool episode. So go hang out, say hi to Laura, check out her book. It's at Travel Jersey, so Jerz Girl on Instagram. She has a YouTube channel. Her website is Travel Jersey Girl. So go check her out. And that book is amazing. So take a look and gift it to somebody who needs it in their life.
Yeah, she just, and I mean, she resonated again. It's this weird parallel I have of resonating with my 11-year-old and then my own personal things that I resonate with. So I think she's doing great work, and it was just such a joy to sit down with her.
I agree.
And our most recent episode, number 71, Janelle Taylor, soon to be Dr. Janelle Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to sit down and feel like you're watching your oldest friend and just have the easiest conversation, I feel like that is Janelle. Janelle is a teacher, a PhD candidate, and Renee, you sat down with her and talked to her about currently teaching in COVID times. She's teaching second grade. At one point, had fourth, had to shift. But does enjoy it because those little minds are, not talking back and being a little bit more kind in the classroom than some of those older kids. But yeah, I mean, she was so relatable in the sense of explaining that need for the face-to-face and that human interaction. And yeah, you've got Zoom and you've got these Google Meets, but there's something to say for being there. And you can just tell that she has a real passion for what she does. So excited that she took that leap and she's going back to school now because that was something that was important to her. And I think that that's really what I took from Janelle was that Janelle does what's going to make Janelle happy because she has learned to care for herself. And she just gave so many good tidbits. I felt like her episode was moment after moment of good quotes.
Yeah.
One of which was clap for yourself. Because she essentially, and she just said it in the most perfect way that, again, I feel like we've related so much stuff to this year and it's hard not to, but she talked about you need to be okay with being alone and being with yourself and clapping for yourself because there's going to be a day that you need somebody and that somebody might not be able to be there for you. And so the person you need to show up and clap for you is you. And so I thought that was really key as we know there's a lot of people that are alone. And, if you are struggling with that, we definitely want you to reach out for supports or utilize a mental health professional. But if you can find those coping mechanisms to clap for yourself and to be okay in those lonely moments, she talked about, I wrote it down, sometimes we only have ourselves to love. And it's just, I kept writing everything down that she was saying because, there was a moment where she was like, I got to do what's best for me and I can't keep taking for other people. So take on only what belongs to you, I believe is exactly how she said it. Like, I can't keep taking on these extra stresses. And so I mean, there's just so much words of wisdom there. I'm so grateful she's an educator for so many reasons. Right now, we, need to thank our educators because they've pivoted and pivoted and pivoted. And, every parent, myself included, is like, we're pivoting too. But, we don't realize the behind the scenes work that they're really doing because when you have, let's assume, 15, and maybe that's a small amount of 8-year-olds on the screen at once, muting and unmuting, not shutting off their sounds like their mom. I mean, imagine what that's like. And she's just this calm, just the way she spoke, I was like, this is perfect. I feel so at ease and so relaxed. And so now in tune with myself. So you had the privilege of talking, or I don't know if you'd add anything else, but I feel like, and check out her red bra moment. I don't want to give everybody's away, but I just feel like, again, a powerful moment where she was like, I'm taking care of me. Like, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah, no, she is. She's definitely somebody, like you said, you can sit down and feel like she's your friend instantly and talk. And I feel like she needs to write a book, like Hoda's book of all of her quotes and stuff, because I think it's just natural for her and the way she makes it relatable. And, part of why she's a big advocate of taking care of herself and doing what's right for her is because she didn't come from that place, of course. And that's how she really learned. And she learned really hard. And she shared those personal parts of that personal story with us in our conversation. And, even with the whole virtual learning thing, she talks about our teachers who aren't just there. It's not like you just hit end meeting and you're done. She is there literally 24/7, like many of our educators are for their students. Margie talked about this. So words cannot thank our teachers enough. already underpaid, but massively underpaid, of course. And I think there's a lot of people realizing that with this past year. But with Janelle, I will say with her red bra moment, it is a freaking empowering red bra moment. And it's one of those moments, again, like so many of our guests that we've talked about, that it's like, you know what? If Janelle can do that and that's her red bra moment, and she was hurt and she didn't tell anybody what she was going through, but she still showed up every single day to get to that moment, I can freaking do it. And so if you need some support, if you need just some power behind your self-belief, your internal belief, your passion right now, you've got to go listen to some of these episodes and listen to these red bra moments and their stories, because they are going to fuel you. Janelle's launching a podcast called Studio 143 that we're watching out for in the first quarter of the year. 143 means I love you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. And so it was cool to hear why she chose that name and how it was created and stuff. So we're here cheering you on, Janelle. We can't wait to see what happens.
Follow her at It's Nell, Nelle, at Instagram. And another recommendation from Jen Myers.
I know, we love our recommendations. And so if you're out there and you think of somebody, or you yourself want to share your story, well, we want to hear from you. So reach out to us. You can either DM us on Instagram. You can email us at redbraproject@gmail.com. We have a contact us little button on our website, theredbraproject.com. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. We would love to hear your story and share it out with others, because their stories share so much power and they give us so much hope and inspiration. So Shawna, do you have green eyeliner stuff on?
I have yellow. Maybe it's coming out green.
No, it's yellow. I like it. It matches your vest. Not to take a side turn, left turn.
I mean, I've diverted us with my rookie podcast skills here.
So before we wrap up really quick, do you want to talk about anything that you have on your mind for 2021?
Oh, I had questions coming my way. Look at that. I just hope for 2021 for a kinder and more open-minded country. And so, really keeping myself in check too about challenging people's points of views and comments in a constructive way. I do feel, and I mentioned it earlier, that the recent events that happened at the Capitol are concerning. And, as raising somebody, I want to make sure I'm having those conversations with my kids. But also not thinking too far forward. I had so many plans for 2020 that taught me to live more in the moment and not get so wrapped up in the future. I think staying centered and staying present is my goal for 2021. How about you?
That made me think about the reflection wall that our unstoppable presenter Sharon Lee Zapata talked about. And this is a little gem. This is a little hidden, I don't know what you want to call it, a hidden message for anybody who watches this video. So we recently had a virtual event at the end of 2020 because we wanted to go out on a higher note. It was just super fun. It was interactive. It was an awesome event, and our guests loved it. Our presenters loved it. It was awesome. But I'll share with you the one thing our creative presenter shared with us is, instead of a vision board, if you're not quite there yet this year, a vision is, the vision board, you have your goals, you have your dreams, you have those big thoughts and feelings down on the board. And it's super cool and fun to make, but sometimes, especially after a year like 2020, it can feel out of reach. And so Sharon taught us to make a reflection wall. And so you just get a big poster board or foam board, buy a pack of Post-its, or maybe you have them, or cut up some construction paper, grab a Sharpie, and literally write down your daily activities, your goals, your thoughts, your desires. Put them on there. You can post them up there. You can move them around. You can move them to the column that says achieved. You can add to it. You can make it colorful or not colorful as you want. It is such a fantastic idea. And that just made me think of it, Shawna, talking about and being a little cautious with what we think we're going to do.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, I feel like 2021, I think that a lot of people obviously struggled through 2020, and we've struggled as a country, we've struggled personally, we've struggled with families. And I hope that it's a year of healing and that it's a year of continued transformation. I know myself, I work in the event world, and the events have been gone, like just pretty much non-existent since March. And so that in itself has been really, really hard to handle and grasp with, especially when you're watching the whole industry and your friends and family who become friends because you're on the road with them go through their changes. And so I just hope that 2021 brings us continued healing and continued transformation and pivots. And I think that it will, because we've learned a lot, whether we realize it or not, through everything. So,
Definitely.
so with
Well,
that
I know we
said,
have some exciting guests already coming up, so stay tuned, everyone.
yes, and thank you guys all for being here. We absolutely appreciate you. Please, if you like what you hear here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can get all of the show reminders. Follow us at the Red Bra Project and share it with somebody who may need these stories and this inspiration in their life.
All right. Happy 2021. We'll see you
Bye.
soon. Bye.